Okay, this is a little different video. This one's a little more specific for some groups that have attachment scales or other scales where you need to use the instructions from the researcher that whose scale you used to create subscale totals. So specifically for the adult attachment scale, you're going to calculate an average score. So it says mean of 6 items to create a closeness score, and then a depend score and an anxiety score. And then from those, if they scored high in close and depend and then low in anxiety, then they're secure. And if they're high in anxiety, moderate scores on close and depend, then they're anxious, and then avoidant would be low scores on close, depend, anxiety. So for this one, the first step is that you need to create these subscales. So I have just an example. I just have some example responses right here, and I'm using the scale from 1 not at all characteristic to 5 very characteristic. I know that this has been validated with the strongly agree as well, so you might have used that option for your Likert type responses. So here's my fake data, and I can move these closer together for now. So what I want to do is I need to first create these subscales. So close is going to have 6 items in it. And each of these, let me actually do raw attach one. So these are going to be the ones that you're gonna leave as is. So I'm just naming them raw attach, as you saw in previous videos. So this is one. Make these a little bit wider. There we go. So I want to move my variables over, which is fine. It doesn't mess with anything. We're just moving them. We're not changing the numbers. So make sure not to change those numbers. You want to make sure that your numbers here match what was in the original scale. So here we have 1, and then we had 8, 9, and 10. So I'm just taking this information: 1, 8, 9, 10, 14, and 17. And don't worry about the negatives right now. So we're just moving those over. So I'm going to get 1, 8, 9, 10. And then when you hover over it, so I let go after highlighting those, and I have a little hand, and then I can just move that to right there. And then I also need 14. So I'm going to click on it, wait till I have a little hand, move it over to after 10. And then my last one is 17. Oops, there we go. And if you want to make these different colors, you can. So it won't do anything to when you're uploading it into Jamovi. So you could make this, let's say that you just wanted to have it be a different color so that it's easy to identify. That's fine. What I would probably do is go ahead and when you're right here, right click and insert 7 columns right. And this should actually just be, 6 columns. So I had an extra one in there, so it should be 6 because there's 6 in each subscale. Insert 6 columns right. And then I'm going to call this close 1 because this is the close subscale. And this is where I'm going to transform the variables over. And then you'll do that for the next part of the scale. So the next one is depend, and you have 3, 4, 7. So here's 3, 4, 7, and 15, 16, and 18. So 15, 16, and 18. Sometimes the little hand can be out of control. That's why I was trying to make the columns smaller because it's easier to deal with. So now we have these 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert 6 columns right. And then this is the depend scale. So I'm going to say depend 1 subscale. Copy that over. And then, and I know this looks like a lot of work, but it's not gonna be as much as it looks like. Then you're gonna take this and you're gonna say, okay, anxiety is 2, 5, 6, 11, 12, and 13. I just wanna double check. 2, 5, 6, 11, 12, 13. Excellent. So then these guys are going to be anxiety. And 1, and I'll just drag this over so that I have 6 of them. Okay, so now we're set up to do our transformations. And so here's where you need to go back to those negatives. So we have the mean, we're going to get the mean of 1, 8, -9, -10, 14, and -17. The negative is just reverse scoring. So when you create the number that you're going to put in these columns, you'll do the reverse scoring then. So you don't have to do additional reverse scoring. So you might want to identify reverse scoring by coloring it. So 9, 10, and 17. I would probably do something like this. Just as a reminder to myself that these are reverse scored, right? Same thing with this. So we have the depend score. So -3, 4, 16, and 18. 3, 4, 16, and 18. So I'm just using the command to hold and click so that I can select multiple at the same time. And again, I'm just going to highlight it in red as a note to myself to reverse score it. You don't have to do that. And then same thing here. So anxiety for this one, it's just -2 for so the first one is going to be reverse scored. Okay. So then our next step that we have here, you're going to create if statements, and you're only going to have to create a couple. So the one that you want to start with is we're going to do equals if. And I want to go from, because this is normally, it's not red, so this is normally ordered. So I want to go from the lowest score to the highest score according to the way this is set up. So the lowest score for this one, and this is close one, so I'm going to go to raw attach 1, so the numbers match. I'm going to say if that equals, and I'm going to use quotations because it's words, not at all characteristic, then that would be equal to 1. That's the lowest amount of points, right? So we have this not at all characteristic is 1. Good. And then space, or a comma rather, and then another if statement. So it's a nested if statement. And we're going to still do A2. We're going to say equals. And then we want to go to our next level up, which would be slightly characteristic, or whatever your levels are for whatever scale you're using. And that's going to be a 2, another nested if statement, A2 equals, and then we're going to do moderately characteristic. I think I skipped one. About this should be 3. Let's take a look. So, oh, somewhat. There we go. I'm going to copy this. So this one should be somewhat characteristic. Somewhat characteristic is a 3, and then moderately characteristic is a 4. So I'm doing that same pattern where it's a comma, and then my last one is if A2, and I do this slower in the other video if you want to go back to it. I'm just going through this pattern and nesting each of these statements until I have all of them. So this last one is going to be very characteristic. And I'm going to end it with a quotation. And then if that's a very characteristic, it's going to be a 5. Now, the nice thing is that it pops up with this little 4 right here. That's telling you that it says the A2 is 4. Moderately characteristic in this example is a 4. So that's good. Then you're going to do a comma and then open quotations. So double quotations, that means that if it's a missing value, it's going to stay missing. And then you are going to close with the same number of parentheses that you have open. So you can see how it just highlighted the last open parenthesis. So I'm going to do 2. See, it moves up 3, 4, 5. So that way it matches, and then press enter. And you can see that it works here. I'm going to go ahead and check that. But I can see that there's some issues here. So let's see. We have slightly characteristic isn't getting picked up for some reason. Slightly characteristic. I probably misspelled it, so that's good to check. So let's go ahead and click back into it. So let's just go ahead and go here. Slightly. Ooh, I put an S on there. Look at that. So enter. And then I'm going to drag this formula down or you can just double click it and it'll copy it down. So see how that fixed itself. So it's always good to check and make sure that it matches up. So you want to look at it and be like, oh yeah, slightly characteristic should be a 2. Perfect. And so that is 1. So raw attached 1 became close 1. You can just copy and paste for 2, and it's going to do the same thing. So it moves over, right? So that moves, which is really nice. So you can see that if you click into it, it's now looking, this one was looking at A2. This one's now looking at B2, which is 8. The numbers are different here. So close 2 is really, because it's the second close option, it's really 8. If you want to put an 8 there instead, that's totally fine. So if that is easier for you to keep track of which is which, I think that is fine as well. But you can really name these whatever you want to that makes sense to you. And so that works for the first 2. And then this is where we need to do our reverse scoring. So here we have our slightly characteristic, but that's not scored the same way. And if we look at our response options or questions, oh, they're not on this one. But our questions on this, basically we want a high score to indicate high closeness. And so these are scored in such a way that if they say that it's very characteristic of them, it means that there's not a lot of closeness there. So for this one, you can still copy this over. So you're going to copy and paste. It's still going to take this from the right column. So we're in C. That's good. But we need to swap the numbers. And so the easiest way to do this is just to reverse these numbers and go 5, 4, 3 stays the same, 2, and 1. That's it. And then 10 is also reverse scored, so you can copy that one and paste it. You can make these red too if you want to. And then close 14 is not reverse scored, so I'm going to copy the original one and I'm going to paste that, drag it down. And 17 is reverse scored, so I'm going to copy it from 10, which is right here, so that it's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and paste. And this was 17. There we go. There we go. So you'll do that for each of them. So when they're reverse scored, you just want to make sure it's referring to and that is opposite from the way that you scored them originally. So that's the first part of it.